Good morning to those joining me for our 9 a.m. Thursday class this morning. So we're going to do one of my favorite sequences, which is to go from top to toe, a slow flow, plenty of stretching this morning. On these cold mornings, I was teaching a class for Markula this morning, and I'm very tight on these cold mornings, waking up, teaching at 6 o'clock, jumping out of bed and getting ready to go. So our 9 a.m. maybe we're a little bit warmer. We've perhaps moved around, maybe made a coffee or tea, maybe had something to eat. So we'll just get ourselves settled. We'll start in our Shavasana as always. So if there's any other posture position that you'd like to take, you're always more than welcome. So if you prefer being in seated meditation or Supta Baddha Konasana, laying back in our reclined bound angle, you're welcome to. But our focus is just to get comfortable, to give ourselves this physical rest. So being at ease through the physical body, so that it can help bring that mind to ease as well. So the more comfortable we are in our bodies, the easier it is for that mind to rest down. Maybe it's feeling a little bit restless this morning. If we've got that active mind, that monkey mind, bouncing around, moving from one topic to the next. Just noticing it. We're not trying to quiet it. We're not trying to stop it in any way. We're just noticing what we're maybe getting carried away with, what we get caught up in, or perhaps just whatever our story is this morning, our dialogue or commentary, that we lay over the top of what's happening here and now. And that's usually the way we are in our daily life. Whatever's actually happening here, usually we're running that commentary over the top. That inner dialogue that just narrates our life. It means that we miss out on a lot of what's happening right now. The way we can let this come to ease, or one of the ways we can let this come to ease, to rest the mind a little, is to bring our attention into the breath. We can use it as an anchor of our awareness as we just start to notice the volume of air that we're taking in and out. One of the beautiful things about our practice of yoga is we start to cultivate, instead of this chatting mind, we cultivate this listening mind. You can probably already start to feel those things that usually become white noise, perhaps the sounds around us. We're practicing in our home. Maybe the sounds of nature. Maybe they're man-made. But it's those little things that we don't quite pick up on when we're busy going about our day. And keeping to this sense of hearing, just noticing what the furthest away sound is that we can still hear. And then bringing it in close to listen out to the sound of our own breath. Moving that awareness into our sense of feeling, sense of touch. The vibrations of the air as they move in and out of the nostrils, the throat. Allowing us to extend this breath a little, both inhales and exhales. Noticing this, the effect that this has on the physical body. whether we can melt a little deeper into our mat on each breath out. As always, our yoga is a practice of self-care, and now's a good time to check in with the areas of the body that may need a little extra looking after this morning. Our practice is our own, so we can adapt these postures, these poses to however our body's feeling this morning. As we let go of any expectations that we have for our practice, ourselves, our bodies, and just replace these expectations with an intention to look after ourselves. This self-acceptance of allowing ourselves to be exactly as we are on our mats this morning. As we wriggle through fingers and toes, we'll bring those knees into the chest. So if we're not already in that laying position, laying on our backs, curling into our ball, taking our gentle left and right. And returning to center, taking hold of the outsides of the feet. We're coming into our happy baby. Just opening the soles of the feet to the ceiling, releasing those knees down to the mat. Adding our little sway left and right here. If that feels comfortable, we might just feel more at ease being still and lengthening that lower back towards the mat. Whatever feels good for us. Maybe if we are taking that movement, just gently rolling our body weight into the different muscles of the back. Seeing if we've got that stored tension, anywhere that we can roll that out. And then curling into our ball, tucking in nice and tight, rocking and rolling, forwards and backwards, making our way up to seated in our cross-legged position. Or, as always, whatever's comfy. If it's more easy to lengthen our legs out, if we've got really tight hips and the knees feel like they're squeezing up, maybe throwing a pillow underneath the hips or a blanket rolled up, give us a little bit more height there. Let's inhale this left arm up and over, starting up top at the neck. If it feels good, we might like to lengthen that right arm out nice and long, creating that extra little further stretch down that right side. Feeling that right shoulder soften down. Releasing this side, we'll inhale that right arm up and over. Lengthening out through that left arm if it feels good, or it might just rest to the lap. Using those inhales to sit a little bit taller. Bringing that softness through the muscles of the face. As we release this side, coming back to our first side, so inhaling this left arm up, we're going to turn our gaze past the armpit as we tuck that chin in, feeling that lengthening down the back of the neck. So this sequence this morning, my favourite one to move through, is very much a postural sequence. We're starting up at the neck, It's targeted at that desk work that we do, the sitting down that we do. We'll start with this neck. If we're working at computers and we've got that chin poking forwards a lot of the day, can really start to tense up these muscles in the neck. And releasing this side, inhaling, right arm up and over, turning that gaze to the opposite side. Opening up through the chest on our inhale. Feeling it down through this left upper trap a little more. Feeling that left shoulder blade deepen. Our stress magnets, these upper traps. And then releasing this side. Let's inhale. This left arm up and over again. Taking the hand to the opposite shoulder, this right hand can come to the elbow. So we're coming into a gentle shoulder stretch. Feeling into that tricep. If it's comfortable to do so, we can take that thumb, the right hand pointing down, bringing it around to interlace the fingers, or even just taking hold of our singlet, shirt or pajamas. And starting to draw those hands in a little closer. Check in with the shoulders if we've got shoulder injuries, if we're prone to that tightness, if it doesn't feel comfortable. Ease out, take our other option, or it may just be that we ease out a little bit and still able to hold the pose. But we want to be able to make sure that we can sit nice and tall. If we're taking hold, but we're having to hunch over to get that shoulder around, just release it out. We can even take a towel or tea towel as an option if we can't quite reach those hands together. And releasing here, we're going to take this left arm across, coming to the front of the shoulder now. This right arm draws that arm closer in towards the body, so feeling that stretch along the front here. Check in with how that breath is. So those inhales, we want to draw deep down to the belly. Feel it spread up to the chest, so it should be opening up that chest, should feel it across that left arm. And releasing. Inhale, taking that right arm up and over this time, that left arm to elbow, left hand to elbow. So either holding here, or we can take that turn of the arm, interlacing the fingers. This one's my tighter side here, it's a little bit stickier through my right shoulder. So both sides will never be the same. For anything that we do, we've got those differences in symmetry. We can just notice what's going on there. And take our tricep option here. Release this side, taking this right arm across now, left arm draws it in. Feeling that stretch across the front. One more deep breath in. Exhale, releasing out. We're going to inhale these hands to rise. We're going to take our eagle arms. So on an exhale, taking this left arm down and around, we're going to wrap the arms so either the backs of the hands face each other, or if it's available, taking the palms to face each other, or those left fingers in the right palm. So we're taking this wrap, if it's comfortable for the shoulder. And then just drawing those elbows up towards the island. So we're lengthening up through the fingertips. Feeling that stretch across the back of the shoulders, that upper back. Continuing to draw long through those fingertips. And releasing out the side. Inhale, hands rise. Exhale, opposite side, that right arm coming down and around this time, taking our wrap of choice. Once we're set here or steady here, lifting up through those fingertips. One more breath in. Exhale, releasing these arms out. Inhale, hands rise. We're moving down the sides of the torso now. As we exhale, that right hand coming to the mat, left hand reaching those fingertips over to that opposite side. Inhale, hands tall. Exhale, opposite side. So we're grounding through the opposite hip to the fingertips that we're reaching across. Moving with the breath. Take that full inhale to lift up. Exhale, full long exhale, lengthening, reaching, getting that stretch down the side of the body. Taking our time here. Noticing where along the side body we feel it. So it could be anywhere from up around the shoulder, down that side of the lat, maybe towards the hip a little further as we're grounding that to floor. And then taking an inhale, reaching these arms up nice and high. As we exhale, taking this left hand to that right knee, our right hand places behind the body as we inhale, lifting tall. As we exhale, taking our twist, so we're moving down into these vertebrae now. Making our way down the spine. As we, each breath in that we take, we're lifting through the crown of the head. On the exhales, maybe that gaze draws a little further behind that back shoulder or over that back shoulder. Another breath in here. Exhale, back through center. Inhale, hands rise. Exhale, opposite side. Inhale to lift, tall through the torso as we exhale, introducing that twist. One more breath in here. Exhale, returning back to center. Let's walk these hands forwards now. So still in this seated position. We're getting this stretch down the lower back here. So we're not trying to push ourselves down. We're just letting gravity do the work. Using those hands or forearms for support. Keeping this back of the neck nice and long if we feel like our chin's poking forwards. After all that stretching that we've done for the neck, just allow it to rest comfortably here. If it's available to do so, we can walk those hands a little further forwards, keeping those sit bones grounded. Let's walk these hands over to the left-hand side, so we're folding over this left leg now, keeping that right side hip pressed down to mat. And then over to the other side, walking those hands to the right. So keeping that left side hip down, so we're moving this stretch down that left side of the lower back now. Returning our way back through center, pressing ourselves nice and tall on an in-breath. As we exhale, walk those hands back forwards. This time we're coming into our tabletop position. So bringing that torso over the knees into our tabletop. Bringing this dynamic movement into the body now. So we're taking our inhale. We're going to drop the belly, open the chest towards the front of our mat. As we exhale, tuck that tailbone under, round through the spine, press strong through the arms. Inhale, heart opens. As we exhale, we'll lift the back of the heart up towards the ceiling. Exaggerate these movements. So inhale, really open up along the front of the body. Exhale, press strong through the arms, rounding through the back. Taking one more round. And then let's return back to our neutral spine, our tabletop. We'll tuck our toes under, coming into our downward facing dog. First one for the day. Just settling in here. Maybe pedaling out the legs. So we can alternate, bending one knee then the other. So we're keeping this chest open towards the thighs. So my modification for this one with my blood pressure is just to lower the knees down to the mat. So we've got our option at any time. If you'd like to join me for this modification, you can. Otherwise, if we're in our downward dog, continuing to lift through those sit bones, taking that pedal left and right. Letting that head hang heavy, add a little nod, yes or no. And then when we're ready, we'll walk these feet to the front of our mat, taking our ragdoll. So pressing those heels towards the mat with each step, get that lengthening down the back of the legs. Coming into our ragdoll, folding over the hips, letting this upper body relax completely. Taking those hands to opposite elbows, add a little sway side to side. And returning back to center. Let's release those fingertips to the mat. As we inhale, we'll take our half lift. As we exhale, folding forwards. Again, so inhale, that half lift, we're running the palms up the shins, lengthen through the upper back. Exhale, fold. One more time. Inhale, extend through the crown of the head. Exhale, folding forwards. Bend those knees a little further, press through the pads of the feet as we inhale, rising up. As we exhale, just releasing the hands down by the sides, coming into our Tadasana. I'm just going to fix up my microphone here for a sec. I've done something terribly wrong. It is not sticking together today. So just taking a few breaths in our Tadasana. Spreading those fingers wide, so imagining we've got that puppet string pulling us up through the crown of the head, that chin tucks in. Check in with the hips and the lower back if we're feeling tight in that lower back. So we're tucking that tailbone under as if we're that sad puppy dog. The front tips of the hips lift towards the ribs. Let's inhale, hands rise. As we exhale, fold it forwards. Open heart all the way down. As we inhale, taking a half lift. As we exhale, taking hands to the mat, stepping back into our high plank. We're on either our toes or our knees here. Few breaths, making sure that we've got that core engaged, hugging that belly button in towards the spine. Take one more breath in here at the top. As we exhale, slow and steady, feeling those elbows graze the sides of the body as we inhale, coming into our cobra. As we exhale, our downward facing dog. Taking a few breaths here. Really having microphone trouble today. Continuing to lift through those sit bones. Drawing the chest towards the thighs. On our inhale, we'll gaze forwards, bend those knees, step or hop our feet to the front of our mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reverse the dive. Reach it tall, lengthen up the sides of the body. On our exhale, this time we're going to open through the heart, taking a little back bend. Inhale, lift it tall. Exhale, fold it forwards. Inhale, half lift. Hands to mat, high plank, step or hop back. We're taking one breath in at the top, preparing, core engaged. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, open. Exhale, downward facing dog. From here, we're going to lower the knees to the mat, coming into our child's pose, bringing those big toes together, hips back to heels. And just taking a few breaths here. Feeling those inhales expand the tummy against the insides of the thighs. And on our exhales, just picking a different area of the body to relax down. On our inhale, we'll come up to tabletop, all fours. We're going to come into this side body work, this stretching out the traps here. So we're going to take our right hand out over in front of our left, taking a breath in at the top. Use that exhale to lower those hips towards the heels. So we're feeling that lengthening down the right side of the body as we lower through that exhale. So once we're down, we can start to play with the position of that hand. If we'd like to walk it further to the left, we can. Noticing the effect that if we start to draw that torso maybe a little further out to the right, whether that deepens us into the stretch a little further. And then returning back up to all fours. We're going to inhale this right hand up, reaching through the fingertips. As we exhale, threading this right arm through underneath the body, reaching across the fingertips will flow with the breath. So inhale, open through the chest as we reach tall. Exhale, flowing through, reaching across. We'll take one more. Inhale, open. Getting this rotation through the body now as we exhale, this time threading all the way across, reaching through those right fingertips. We're going to lower that shoulder to the mat. So coming into the shoulder stretch, that left hand or forearm can rest to the mat for support. Or if we'd like to come into a little twist, we can take a half bind, that left hand coming towards to rest in the crease, that right side hip crease. You should feel the stretch across that right shoulder. That head is just resting comfortably. And how at ease are we with our breath? And let's return that left hand back to the mat, pressing ourselves back up to all fours. Taking this left palm out over in front of the right. Take our breath in. Use the exhale. Feel that left side of the body lengthening as we lower. Getting ourselves comfortable. If we'd like to walk that hand further over, or just start to lean in through that torso to the left side. So we could be feeling it anywhere from up around the shoulder if that's where we're tight. Maybe down that side body towards the hip. As well as just the different position that we're in. If we're walking that hand across or moving through the torso, we might feel that sensation of the stretch move along the side of the body. We just want to find that the Goldilocks spot, that sweet spot for ourselves where we feel that stretch in a way that promotes this self-care. Let's return our way back up on an inhale, rising these left fingertips up to the sky. Exhale, thread it through and across, reaching through those fingertips. On our inhale, up, rise, open. Exhale, threading through. One more time, inhale. Exhale, this time threading all the way over. Reaching through those left fingertips, lowering that left shoulder to the mat. Resting the head, the palm and forearm to rest or to reach around to that left side hip crease. And let's return this right hand to floor, pressing our way up to all fours. This time we're going to walk our hands forwards, coming down to bring our chest to the mat. So laying on our tummies, coming into the chest now. So bringing those palms underneath the armpits. I'm going to scoot back a little for room. We're going to take our right arm out at about 45 degrees. We're going to add a bend through that right elbow. We're going to keep our right side, that right shoulder and chest close to the mat, pressing through this left palm to peel our way open, so we're feeling this stretch through that right side of our chest. Pec major, pec minor, maybe one we don't commonly stretch, but it can contribute to that hunching and upper body tightness. It's nice to balance it out with a good stretch. Helps us stand a little taller. Gives relief through the shoulders, allows them to sit back and relax a little further, not as drawn forwards. If these muscles are tight, if we've got those drawn shoulders that have been drawn forwards, this is a really nice stretch to ease that out. And releasing back through center, swapping sides. So bringing that right palm underneath the right armpit, extending that left arm out nice and long again, that 45 degree, bending through that elbow, keep that left shoulder low, peeling ourselves open. So just have a play with that arm position. We're finding that spot that feels good for us, our own bodies. Every skeleton is different, but we just want to move it in a way that we can feel that stretch through the left side of our chest. And let's return back through center. Bringing both palms underneath. We'll make our way back into our downward dog. So tucking those toes under and lifting up through those sit bones. A little pedal out here, any movement through the hips. Let's gaze forwards, bend the knees, step or hop, feet to front. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reversing up, reaching tall. Taking our back bend on the exhale, opening through the heart. Inhale, lift. Exhale, dive it forwards. Half lift. Hands to mat, high plank. Step or hop back. Take our breath in. Exhale, lower. Inhale to open. Exhale, downward facing dog. As we inhale, that left heel comes to sky, bending through the knee, stepping it forwards for our low lunge, releasing that right knee to the mat. So coming into our lunge position here. We can either frame the foot with the hands. We can maybe place those hands to the thigh as we lower through the hips that way. If you'd like to get a little deeper into the hip flexor, we can take that right hand for support on the inside of that left foot, reaching that left hand behind, taking hold of that foot, drawing that heel in towards the hip. So whichever option we've taken, just easing on down through those hips. Having no such luck with this microphone today. Taking hold of the foot, releasing it back down. If we frame the foot or had those hands resting, we'll bring those hands back to the floor on either side of the leg, lengthening out nice and long into our hamstring fold. So our option to stay here if we'd like to take the splits this morning, we bring that left foot forwards, or draw that right knee behind a little further, creating that space. I mentioned that Goldilocks point or that sweet spot. We just want to find that position of comfortably uncomfortable, where we can be at ease. And the easiest way to check that is with the breath. So the first thing we can do is when we're in a posture, if we want to know whether we're striving too hard to either hold it or push ourselves, is to notice what's happening in that breath. If you're able to be, even if you are in discomfort, if you're taking that stretch, just notice whether we're able to breathe gently in and gently out. If we're straining, if we struggle with that breath, just ease out a little bit. We're probably pushing ourselves a bit too far. Let's make our way back under. If we've taken our splits, our Hanumanasana, we can start to draw those legs in towards each other so that we're back into this hamstring fold position. We're going to walk our hands around to the right. So I'm going to do a little twist here first. So walking those hands around to the right so that our left leg is nice and long towards the front of our mats. We can be supported by the palms or forearms as we just ease our way into this little half side split here. We're taking that left leg nice and long, feeling that opening through that inner left thigh. So we've moved down into our hips now. We've taken our hip flexors through our lunge, our hamstrings through that fold. moving into our adductors now, these inner thigh muscles, or the hip, the inner groin. This is why this is my favorite sequence. I like to sort of be structured with just moving from head to toe, trying to cover as many bases as I can, which is actually very hard to do within 1 hour, believe it or not. There's just so much. But it's also just about finding those areas for yourself. If you've only got a certain time limit that you can put into practice, either per day or per week. From here, we'll press our way up through the palms. So we're going to come into our pigeon facing the backs of our mat. So we're continuing to walk these hands around to the right, swiveling this front leg so the right foot comes over towards that left wrist, making our way into pigeon. And easing our way down here, leading with that left side of our hip towards the mat. Hips are square, left leg is nice and long. We can rest on our forearms, or we can lower down, resting the head to the back of the hands or the mat. Or because we're at home, we might have some pillows or blankets around. So I was saying it's nice, sort of, depending on your time limit, as to, if you're able to stretch out, is just picking those key areas that we have, that we can identify within our own body. I know for me it's hips and hamstrings, which is why if you've done my classes, you'll notice that I use some variation of this hip opening sequence where we do our hamstring folds, we do our low lunges, optional splits. Because my background was lower back pain, is how I got into yoga, as well as I spend a lot of my spare time sitting down, which is, I find, a common thing for a lot of people. So I think most people appreciate a good hip opening, as well as the neck and shoulders. I've never had anyone say that we do too much neck and shoulder stretching. From here, we'll press our way back up. We'll lower that right side hip to the floor so that we can turn to face the front of our mat. We'll sweep both legs around to the side, so we're coming into our tabletop position, so all fours facing the front. Let's tuck those toes under, coming into our downward facing dog. We'll take a little flow. Let's inhale to high plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, opening up dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let's inhale this right heel to the sky now. Bend the knees, step the foot, taking our low lunge on this right side. Settling ourselves, either framed by the foot, resting to that thigh. We can take that left hand to mat, that right hand reaching for that back foot, drawing that heel towards the hip. we've taken hold of the foot, releasing it back down to frame this front foot, lengthening, so we're leading with that right side hip, drawing it behind, toes draw towards the chest. Take a breath in, we can lengthen through this torso, just creating a bit of space between the vertebra, and exhale to fold forwards. Our option again, if we'd like to create that extra space. So moving very gently through here, if this is quite an intense stretch for us. So going back to identifying the poses or postures, stretches that we find most beneficial for our bodies, is I like to just set homework, whether you're able to do maybe 1 or 2 classes a week, maybe it's 3 or 4, it's difficult to fit an hour every day to do a full practice. And that's why I say to people it's better to do 5 or 10 minutes every day than just doing 1 class a week. And so it's nice if you know your problem areas, you can just pick as little as 2 or 3 stretches, postures, just to do in the morning. It'll help us get off to a better start for the day. If we've taken our split posture here, we can start to draw back in, bringing that left knee underneath the torso. Let's walk these hands around, so our right leg nice and long to the front of our mat this time, so we're pressing that outer edge of the right foot to the mat, supported by the palms of forearms, and easing our way down, feeling that opening through that inner right thigh this time. So if you're a desk worker that suffers with tight neck and shoulders, just those neck stretches that we did at the beginning, even if you do it in the morning, or each time you sit down, or even you can set alarms during the day. They only take 30 seconds to a minute. It's even something you can do if they really are a problem area. If you get that stress, that tension in the upper traps and the neck, just setting an alarm every hour or 2. It'll make a big difference if we're sitting away, working at a desk. If we're tight through the hamstrings, as simple as a forward fold in the morning, that little ragdoll left and right. Going from nothing to something is a big step that we can add to our day. Pressing our way up. Coming into our pigeon, so walking these hands around to the left, to the back of our mat, swiveling that left foot towards the right wrist, ease our way down. So keeping that right side hip low. make our way back up. Pressing tall, lowering through that left hip. So turning to face the front of our mat. We'll lengthen both legs out nice and long. We'll do one last little hamstring stretch. So tucking those toes in towards the chest. We'll inhale, hands rise. Exhale, forward fold. Just allowing those hands. If they take hold of the feet, great. Otherwise we can rest those hands to the shin or maybe the side of the body. Just drawing that belly button towards the thighs. We can bend those knees a little further if we'd like to get more into the belly of the hamstrings if it's feeling tight behind the knees. And then releasing here, back to sit nice and tall. Bend the knees, take the soles of the feet to the mat, taking hold behind the hamstrings and just gently lowering ourselves down here. Once the heads come to rest to the floor, drawing those knees to chest, tucking into our ball. Gentle little left and right here. Back to center, lengthening that left leg nice and long, taking that right knee across the body. We're coming into our twist, so finishing off with this full stretch all the way. Head to toe opening so we can gaze over those right fingertips if it feels okay for the neck. Keeping that right side of the upper body pressed into the floor. And returning back to middle, tucking that left knee to chest, extending that right leg long, and that left knee coming across the body. Gazing out over the left fingertips if that feels good. On the inhales, we're feeling that opening through the chest. Exhale, releasing down into the mat. So in all of these twists, rotations, still should be able to keep that fluid breath. Back through center, tucking those knees in nice and tight. Squeeze it into our ball, lowering those feet to the mat, opening the knees out to the sides, soles of the feet to touch. So we're coming into our reclined bound angle. It'll be our last posture before Shavasana, so if there's anything else we'd like to take, we can move through that now. When we're ready, if we're in this reclined butterfly, we can bring those knees towards each other, whatever posture we've come through. Make our way into our Shavasana, our final rest, these last few minutes. Extending out through the arms, the legs. So again, we're resting that body completely. As the body rests, the mind follows. awareness, that attention inwards. Just enjoying these last few minutes to ourselves. Starting to listen out for the sounds that are going on around us again. Noticing those that are more obvious and those that are more subtle. Feel into the rise and fall of the chest. Bring a wriggle to the fingers and toes. Inhale, arms up overhead. Taking a long, last full body stretch all the way out. Rolling to one side. Pressing our way up to seated. Sitting comfortably, sitting tall as we take hands to heart center. Grateful to ourselves once again for taking time and making time for this practice, to come to our mats and to practice this self-care. As we bow our heads to our hands, we honour ourselves and each other with Namaste. Thank you very much, everybody.